Well, the May exam window is coming up on us quickly. February is now behind us. Flip the calendar over. It's March. Suddenly it's starting to get real. The May exam window for level 1 is May 18th to the 24th. So not counting March 1st and getting you to the day just before the exam window. You have 77 days, less 4 weeks at the end for review. You have 49 days to get through what you need to get through before you really should be in complete review mode and exam prep mode for those last 4 weeks. Level 2 and 3, you got a week longer before your exam window begins, May 25th to June 1st. So getting you to the day before the exam, you have 84 days. If we take off 4 weeks for level 2, you got 56 days to do what you need to do before you really should be in review mode. And I say 5 weeks at level 3 for review because you really want to go over those AM exams and spend some time there and get the structure down. You don't want to walk in knowing everything and fail simply because you didn't write the structure properly or that you didn't answer the questions in a way that would have allowed you to finish in the time needed. So you're sort of in the same boat with level 1. You got 49 days to get through what you need to get through. Now, I get that the vast majority of people writing level 2 and level 3 this year are more than ready. You've been ready for a year. You were going to write last May. You got bumped to December, and then you got bumped again to this May. Now, some of you may be new, where last year you didn't register for level 2 or level 3, so it really didn't affect you. So this is your first scheduled exam. But you know, you've had lots of time to prepare. Hopefully you are prepared. If not, keep in mind these are the days you have left, so if you've got a lot to get through, you need to pick up the pace. So with those people who are the candidates who, you know, are more than ready, you know, I get it. You know, to say, listen, just continue to review, don't let up, you know, that can get a little tiring after a while. When you see the same words over and over again, it really gets a little bit boring. You're no longer even feeling or seeing the words anymore. It's repetition. It's sort of like watching a movie for the 15th time. You're not really watching the movie anymore. You sort of just know it and you're not really paying attention to anything. So it's hard to stay interested in something that you've been with for so long, you know, and you're ready to go. So I have a couple of things to mention here that you might want to consider that I think can add a lot of value. Number one, if you are a subscriber to my site, you have all the review PDFs. These are usually 6, 7, 8 pages long. That's it. The review videos are anywhere from, you know, as short as 10 minutes to sometimes up to 20 minutes to summarize a whole reading. Listening to them again and again and again is not the same thing as actually speaking the words yourself. You know, we can listen to something. You can listen to a song 100 times, but if I turn the song off and say, okay, sing the words, you probably forget the words. It's amazing how many people can't remember the words to their own national anthem, yet they've sung it so many times while the song was playing, but when you go to do it on your own, it's like, well, hang on, what are the words? Because you work so much on memory, you never have to actively think about it. That's the problem with watching review videos again and again and again, is you're hearing the words, but if you had to stop the video and I said, okay, repeat the last 2 screens, you might not be able to. So narrate the review PDFs. Create your own audio files. This way here, wherever you are, you have a set of audio files to listen to in your own words, explaining or narrating those review PDFs. So don't listen to me. You have the screen in front of you. You have the PDF in front of you. It's LOSH or LOSA, and it has a number of points. Narrate them. See if you can speak them yourself. It is more powerful than just hearing somebody say it because you're actively bringing yourself into it. You actually have to think about what it says and translate it into your own words and say it to yourself so that when you listen to yourself, you know what you're saying. So that, you know, that can help you fill in the amount of days that are left before you get into review. And that's a great way to review everything all at the same time and create a set of portable review files for your iPhone or your tablet that you have with you. Next, the blue box examples. in the readings. And I point these out because they are generally well constructed. Rarely do I find issues with blue box example questions. They're generally well constructed, and what I like about them most is they are true to the learning objective. They don't dive into some little dark corner of some paragraph somewhere where it's a little point that, yeah, maybe you can get a question out of that, but it has nothing to do with the learning objective. And this is the problem sometimes with mock exams or question banks, is they may go into some detail that you would never be tested on that completely misses the point of the learning objective. Well, the blue box examples tend to be very true to the learning objective. Level 1, across all the readings, there's some 550 to 600 of them. Level 2, it's about 450 to 500. I've never done a real count. I've done a sampling of the readings, and some readings have as few as 8, some as many as 15, 16 examples. So I just say, well, okay, well, let's say there's 10 to 12 per reading, and I'll give you a range. Level 3, you got about 300 to 350. And most of these have multiple parts. Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So example 12 might have 6 parts to it. So it's really six questions in itself. So it's really more than that. I like them because they are, as I say, well constructed, and they are true to the learning objective. And there is, some consensus that some questions on the exam are modeled after these blue box examples. Not all of them, but some of them are modeled after these blue box examples because of this point. They are well constructed. So if you're looking for, if you're looking to create a question, the structure of these questions oftentimes is a good place to start to create another question. Well, if you're using that structure, you may as well, learn the structure. You may as well become familiar with it. Although I caution you on this, don't memorize your way through these blue boxes. There is a tendency, once we see a question, we know what the answer is right away. See, if you're at a question where you say, well, I know what the answer is, it's 63.2, I've done this one. Then answer it this way. Explain it to somebody sitting on the other side of the desk. Imagine an invisible person there that says, I don't get it, and they just don't get it, and you need to explain it to them step by step so that they get it. You know what the answer is, but can you explain to somebody how you got that answer? So even though you recognize all the questions and you pretty much, well, I know the answer is B. I know it's B. I've seen it before. Explain it to somebody else why it's B. Don't memorize your way through it. See your way through it. So you spend some time with these. The combination of reviewing, of narrating the PDFs and going through the blue box examples should set you up very, very nicely for the mock exams. Now, when you get to the mock exams, there's, I've heard the expression mock till you drop. And, in the beginning, I sort of went along with that, saying, well, that makes sense. Do as many as you can. But we've had our exams online for the last year. And we have some results from candidates who passed in December, who took the December exam. And our statistics show that at level 1 and level 2, they appear to limit out after about 3 full exams. That's 6 half exams. After about 3 full exams, they appear to limit out, meaning that the gains you get in performance after that are insignificant statistically when you take the size of the group that goes from exam 3 to exam 4. We're not finding any significance in the difference between the average score. So they appear to limit out. So there is a limit, I think, to how many mock exams make sense, because you're going to do a half exam, you're going to tally up your score, and then you're going to have some kind of intervention. The intervention being, well, I need to review this section or that section, or I need to go and look at a few other things. I scored poorly in derivatives or poorly here. Let me go review and do better. And then I'll write the other half exam. And then you'll check your score, and then you'll see what's missing there, and you'll do an intervention. Well, after so many interventions of being reminded which sections you don't know, either you're going to improve or you're not. And you'll get to a point where you do limit out. That appears to be after 3. So I find that A and B are going to be a lot more valuable in terms of raising your score than simply doing more and more mock exams. Level 3 AM, if you're there, we didn't find any limit out, that there was still improvement going from 3 to 4. For the AM exam, you're really working on two things here at level 3. You're working on the structure of the answer. Never mind the content. The answer has a structure that you should be aware of what the structure is, but it also has the content. You got to walk into the room with the content in your head. You got to know what the answer is. However, you can mess up badly if you don't know how to answer the question, and there is a way to answer questions depending on the keyword, whether it's a list, calculate, determine and justify, explain. There is a way to answer these, and typically 2-3 bullet points max. They are not essay answers. And your job is not to teach the answer, your job is to tell the answer. So you do want to spend a lot of time getting comfortable with the structure of the answer, getting comfortable with saying just enough. That you say, well, I've said these 2 points, but what if the grader doesn't know what I mean? The grader's an expert. The grader knows exactly what you mean. You don't have to teach the grader why those 2 points are the answer. You just have to tell the grader these 2 points are the answer and move on. You want to get comfortable doing that, because in university, typically when we have these types of questions, the professor is saying, I want to know that you can explain it to me, not just tell me the answer is 65. How did you get 65? Well, at level 3, if there's a calculate question and the answer is 65, you write 65 and circle it. That's it. You get full marks. You don't have to show your work. However, if you write 64, you get nothing, unless you've shown your work to get part marks. Tricky, right? Anyways, these are 3 things that you can work on. Narrating the PDFs. The reason this I think works well is because you're actively voicing it now. You're not just passively listening to somebody else's voice. You're actively voicing it. Going through the blue box examples again because of their construction and because of the their similarity or their proximity to the learning objective. Finally, I've been asked a lot of this. What do I think about Q banks, the CFAI Q bank, other Q banks? What do I think about specific suppliers, mock exams, etc.? Many of these I haven't seen, so I can't really say too much about them. I do know that I do get quite a few questions about questions from question banks that aren't mine, that appear to have mistakes in them, and yeah, there are. This is a common thing in this particular industry. I've not come across, even in the end of chapter question, there are mistakes. If every year, if you look on CFAI's website, there's a list of corrections for the book. It's brutally difficult to edit something to 0 error. Brutally difficult to do. The cost of getting that done is, well, it's not worth what it would be in the end. In other words, you could never charge a price to justify editing to perfection. So a lot of times you have to crowdsource your error corrections. So if there are some question banks out there with some mistakes in them, well, that's sort of the process they've taken is, we can only bring it so far. We're going to crowdsource the rest and have candidates point out our mistakes to us. Yeah, that's all right. Not correcting the mistake or not having any process in which the candidate can question the question, yeah, then that's a bit of a drag. Seeing the same mistake year after year in question banks without it being corrected, that's a drag, and that is common. So what do I think of other question banks? I really have no opinion, without having gone through them question by question. I really can't give an opinion on them. What I can say is this. CFAI provides you with a lot of questions online in the learning ecosystem. They also provide you with a lot of end of chapter questions. They also provide you with a lot of blue box examples, and they provide you with mock exams. So they provide you with a lot already. More questions aren't going to help you improve. After a certain amount of questions, having more questions isn't going to do anything for you without the interventions. So let me give you an analogy. Let's say that you weigh yourself in the morning and you weigh 230 pounds and you say, I thought I lost weight. Let me get on the scale again and check. No, you're 230. So you wait a few minutes and you get back on the scale again, you're 230. So you wait a few minutes, you get back on the scale, no, you're still 230. You'll always be 230 unless you have an intervention. An intervention meaning, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to reduce my calorie intake over the next few days. I'm going to increase my calorie burn, and then I'm going to weigh myself again. So when you're doing Q banks and you do a quiz of 20 questions and you score 62, you say, okay, well, let me do another quiz of 20. And you score 64, and you say, well, let me do another quiz of 20. And you score 59, you say, let me do. That's like getting on the scale again and again and again without the intervention. So just hitting the question banks and doing question after question after question, if there's no learning in the question, and if you're seeing that as you do more and more questions, your score is not improving, you're simply just weighing yourself again and again and again without an intervention. If you are in a section like quant and you run quizzes, and let's say you do 100, 150, 200 different questions, and you're scoring anywhere from 75 to 90 on these quizzes, well, then you got it. That's good. Doing more isn't going to help you. Chances are, if you look at what you're getting wrong, mostly you're reading the question wrong. A lot of mistakes, half of your mistakes, I guarantee you, is because you read the question wrong. You answered the wrong thing. If you're in a section and you're scoring 40 to 50, and you say, okay, well, let me do another quiz, let's see if I improve, that's not an intervention. Weighing yourself again is not an intervention. It means you need to go back and do something else. So before hitting the question banks again, maybe go to those readings and say, I'm going to work slowly through all these blue box examples till I can explain every answer to the person sitting across the desk from me, to that invisible person. Then I'll go back and do another quiz. That's the intervention. That's the diet. That's the calorie reduction on your intake and the calorie burn on your exercise. So, you know, I find that this obsession with I need to collect as many question banks and as many mock exams as possible, and then I'm just gonna, for the next 40 days, I'm just gonna go through them. You know, that's again like weighing yourself again and again and again for 40 days straight. You have interventions in between, so you don't need 10,000 questions. You don't need 20 mock exams. You need enough to indicate to you where you're good and where you're weak, and where you're weak, you plan an intervention. Then you weigh yourself again. And if you have improved, great. If you haven't improved, well, then you go back and you intervene again. If you still haven't improved, maybe you say, well, you know what, this is, maybe I'm limiting out in this particular subject, and this is just something that I'm going to have to live with. Then apply your energy somewhere else. All right, that should I think that gives you a lot of good ideas about what you can do over the next 77 to 84 days, and of course, if you're later in that exam window, you add on your own amount of days to that.